Now it's time for something different.
Welcome back to this week's episode of the Hot Death Horror Podcast. I have an absolute beast of a director, producer, actress that I am just super excited to talk to. We set this up a few weeks ago, almost a month ago now, actually. We set this up, and ever since then, I've just been jonesing to get to talk to this person. Director, actress for the movie Lexi. You can see that on Tubi, Prime Video, and a slew of other streamers. Upcoming film Cold Blows the Wind. Has 5 films under her producer belt. Very talented. Super excited to talk to Miss Victoria Vertuga.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you for coming on. I really, really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Happy to be here.
So we'll start. I just wanted to kind of start with Lexi because that's where I was kind of introduced to you. Well, I'll get at it's not where I was introduced to you, but I didn't realize that, where I first saw you, and I'll get into that in just a little minute. But
I can't wait to hear the story.
Well, I mean, I'll just give it away. It was Dexter.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. I love that show. That's like literally one of my favorite shows of all time. I love that show.
It was great for sure.
So Lexi,
yes,
you directed it, you starred in it, and
wrote it.
Wrote it, yeah, everything. Fantastic job. You played an influencer that kind of seems like she's losing her mind a little bit.
Yes, so, definitely.
And you, from the conversations we've had, and now you seem like a very put together, down to earth person. How did that feel? Like what inspired you to kind of go down that road? How did it feel?
Yeah, I think as an actor, it's always so fun to get to do things in a role that you don't get to do in your normal life, right? To get to explore like pieces of yourself or experiences that you don't have. That's like part of what makes it so amazing. And for me as an actor, I'm always looking to stretch myself. I'm always looking for roles that are dynamic and interesting and challenging. That's why I started writing, because sometimes we don't get the opportunity to audition for those things as much as we like. So I was like, I gotta write it myself. And Lexi actually came about during the pandemic, during the lockdown. We were ready and kind of gearing up to film Cold Blows the Wind, which we ended up doing afterwards. But everything shut down, right? The industry's totally shut down. And I still wanted to find a way to be productive and creative during that time. I don't sit still well, I like to say. So it's like, I need to do something. So yeah, just kind of racking my brain, trying to figure out, me and my writing partner, trying to figure out something we could do that would be mostly me in my house, because that's what we had access to, right? And if there was other people in it, how we could keep it very contained. So it's like one person at a time. Because again, this is like early COVID, pre-vaccine, nobody knows what's going on. Nobody's comfortable. So I kind of, I've always been fascinated by the story of Elisa Lam. They actually did a Netflix documentary on her during, like, after we'd filmed Lexi before it came out, which was so funny because it's this story that happened way back in 2013. About this girl who comes to LA on vacation, and she stays at this hotel called the Cecil Hotel, which has this kind of very dark, weird history of a lot of like murders and crimes and stuff happening there, right? Mm-hmm. And so she goes missing, and the last footage of her is this really eerie, weird footage of her in the elevator in the lobby of the place where she was staying. And because we're seeing like that security camera footage from the elevator, she's acting really weirdly. We can't tell if like she's talking to someone that's just out of frame or like what she's doing. And I found that really compelling, just like that footage, the fact that we can't see everything, we don't know anything. And it's very like, poses more questions than answers. And so I was thinking, like, I'd never really seen a movie where we see it through a lot of security cameras footage. Right. And there's something very like inherently compelling about that. So kind of came up with that idea of like, okay, so this girl's in her house, weird things are happening, so maybe she puts up this camera and we're seeing her footage of her security cameras through her house. So the fact that we made her an influencer, so that way we could be telling the story also with her own vlogs and social media posts and stuff, as a means to tell a story. And we chose to do it in like that mockumentary format again, so we could flesh the story out and have the experts come in with their theories, film them one at a time during COVID. And that's kind of how it came about. So it was a really interesting challenge creatively, because we had such a very narrow sandbox to play in with all these parameters and, due to the nature of the film and due to COVID and all that stuff. So it made it really challenging, but it was really fun because it's a cool exercise to see how creative you can be, in that box. It's like, okay, this is what we got to work with. So like, what can we do with that in mind? And we filmed it very weirdly, like piecemeal, because I was still working, doing other things. My husband was working from home at that time, so we kind of filmed it over like 3 months. I'm like, okay, I got time today, and doing it, seeing what works. There was a lot of like trial and error, things in the script that didn't really like work on camera, and ideas I got during filming. So it was a very weird process of filming. Usually it's like, okay, we're filming for 17 days. Here we go, off we go. This was like, kind of piecemeal over time, which was an interesting process.
Yeah. The creep factor for sure with the security cameras. I mean, very very paranormal activity vibes, which is a huge success in the found footage world. So,
yes,
I mean, was that the original goal? Were you going for like a found footage thing? I know you said with the security cameras. So were you?
Yeah, definitely. Yes. Yeah. Found footage for sure. Because I feel like that was, again, when you're talking about like something that's contained and something that allows you to work in those kind of parameters, that was the idea for it. So yeah, the mockumentary found footage was kind of our feeling of how we were going to tell the story because of the circumstances we were in with COVID. So then it was just trying to figure out like, who is this girl? Why is she at home? Why are we watching? All that kind of stuff. Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. The lipstick, like that was
so fun.
Yeah, that was great. That was really great. That part. Yeah, that creeped me out for sure. I was like,
it was very interesting, like as an actor, because it was literally me, like just me, not even opposite anybody, just me.
Right.
And because we filmed the vlogs, we wanted them to look like actual, like, vlogger vlogs. So I filmed them just with my iPhone. So it was very weird to be like having these, like, it was a very weird experience as an actor, because you're delivering this thing to like this tiny little iPhone camera, and it's just me, talking to nobody. And it was a very like interesting experience. It took me a second to kind of like find my groove with it. And it was very challenging, but then I was like, okay, I got this. I figured out how to do this now. But yeah, that was a very fun, interesting exercise, because it was such a lonely acting thing. Usually you have so much going on and so many people that you're playing off of, and this was like, hi, just me.
So did you spend like hours on TikTok doing, research, like trying to nail that influencer vibe?
I didn't do it. Like, I definitely did research. I tried not to go down the wormhole too hard, but yeah, I absolutely looked up a lot of like, we knew we wanted her to be like a kind of like a positivity kind of a vlogger, because it was important that she was probably annoying in the beginning, but not like a bad person, right? So, but those people tend to kind of, I don't know, maybe, no offense to anyone who is that, but they're a little extra, right? They're a little like much sometimes. So yeah, and I always like the idea, for me, when I'm watching something, I love when I like can't stand somebody, I'm like, I want them to die. But then by the course of the time of the film, like I start to feel bad for them, because then they become like a more dimensional character. And then with the if and when they do die, then I feel bad. I'm like, no, I feel guilty, like I wish this on them. So I think that's always a fun thing to play with. But yeah, so I definitely looked up a lot of like influencers and vloggers and stuff like that to kind of get a feel for what they did and what their videos looked like, and little trends I noticed. Like that's why we made her have, a lot of them have like names for their fans, and they have like that's why we came with lexicons and all that kind of stuff. So making sure that like the tropes and the things were there.
Yeah, well, fantastic job too. You even had the jealous like competitor. I hope she's happy or whatever. Like that. Yes, was very very well done.
The frenemy.
The frenemy. Yeah, there we go.
100%.
So Cold Blows the Wind. This is not found footage. This is traditional shot, cinematic. You co-wrote.
So this one I didn't write. This one actually my writing partner had written before we were working together. And we had an investor who was interested in working with us, who had like a very particular budget. And we looked through like our scripts that we'd written together, and a couple that he had solo to try to figure out what we thought would be the best fit for that. And because it was like Cold Blows was very contained, small cast, not like a ton of ridiculously elaborate effects. It has effects in sense, but nothing like things that we thought we could manage. So we thought this was maybe the best bet for that investor. So we went forward with this. So yeah, for Cold Blows the Wind, I just produced it and starred in it.
Okay. Well, the trailer looks great.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, the description sounds great. And it's available now, actually. You can rent it, rent or buy, coldblowsthewindfilm.com. You can rent it or buy it on there. I think I might have plans this weekend now.
So, I love it. Let us know what you think.
I know that it's there. Yeah, I might find myself renting that, because the trailer does. The trailer looks great. It looks very super suspenseful. Like,
yeah, it was so fun and it was great. We worked with Jamie Bernadette on this project, who's done tons and tons of horror movies. She's awesome, and we had so much fun working with her. Like the scenes with me and her are some of my absolute favorite. It was also my first time as an actor. I got to do my own stunts and do like a couple of fight sequences and stuff like that. And I have kickboxing background. I love it, so I had so much fun doing the stunts. It was my favorite. So yeah, it was a lot of very cool experiences on this one. Really fun. We had a really good festival run where we won a couple best feature things and Judges' Choice Awards and stuff like that. So we're excited to put it out into the world and see what people think.
Yeah, well, I think people will love it. I haven't seen it, but it looks very, very creepy. Like the whole
So we strive.
The whole couple at home vibe. Like it sounds very good. So
Yeah.
Are there any plans to have it be available on other streaming services?
Absolutely. So yeah, we're doing like kind of an experimental thing with this project to see how it goes. So you're a filmmaker as well, right? So as you know, it's changed a lot, the landscape for indie film, and it's become a lot more difficult, just increasingly difficult for filmmakers to make a good portion of the earnings of their film. You can have like 1 million views on an AVOD service like Tubi, and you're making like $5,000 to $7,000 off of those million views, which is crazy. So yes, by the time everybody takes their chunk, by the time the platform takes their chunk and the distributor takes their chunk, the filmmakers are left with like very minimal. So we're doing this initial release on our website, which allows like the fans who really want to support us to rent and purchase it, and the vast majority of these earnings to come straight to us. That way we are able to recoup our costs back quicker, and then go on and make the next project quicker, which is what it's all about, right? So we're going to be having it available on the website through the end of March, and then we have to pull it off for a little bit so that we can get up on the TVOD services and cable. So it'll probably be on those July or August, and then the regular platforms exactly like later in the year. So that is the plan.
Okay, awesome. Well, I might have to pick your brain on that whole stream it on your own website thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was looking into that, and you're right, with distribution and everything. I mean, it's great that those resources are there, but you're right. I mean, at the end of the day, we don't get what we would like to get sometimes after it goes through everything that it goes through. Everybody takes their chunk.
Exactly. Everybody takes a little piece out of it, right? And so the filmmakers are left with like very minimal. And I think people think like, oh wow, if you're saying that your movie had 3 million views or however many, it's like people think you're killing it, and it's like, yeah, that's great as far as viewership, but what that translates to in earnings is not what you think it does. You know what I mean? So yeah it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, for sure. Any plans to do a theatrical release for it?
This one, not so much. I would love to. The landscape is interesting. So if you four-wall it can be difficult, which means like you're running out the theaters and doing all that kind of stuff. We had thought of maybe doing a little bit of that, touring it a couple places. It's really cost prohibitive. And then even with distributors, the ones that wanted to do a theatrical run, the additional costs that incurs, the chances of you making the money back that they're like charging you to do that theatrical run are very, very slim. So while from a vanity standpoint, and obviously we do this, like it's so much more fun to see your movie in a theater with a crowd, right? Like that was so great about the festival circuit, to actually get the crowd response and see what they laugh at and see what they respond to. It's amazing. So I would love that. But I think for this one, it just didn't really make sense financially, unfortunately. So yes, we'll see. Like I think if it's, obviously the more we do this, the more projects we have, the more we're trying to build our fan base and people who like our projects and are showing up for the next one and the next one. And so I think when you have a really established fan base, it frees you up to be able to do things. And then you have stuff happen like what happened with Terrifier 2, right? He had this fan base in place from years of building this character, from doing the crowdfunding from the first movie. So, then they do a little weekend theatrical. It was supposed to be, 1 weekend release. And then obviously we know how that story ends. It ended up coming back and they made millions of dollars off the theatrical release because the fan base was there. They knew who he was. They knew this character. They knew this product. So I think definitely something we're going to explore in the future for other projects. But I think we're still a little green to make it financially viable at this point, just in terms of like the fan base. We're still building our fan base. We don't have that rabid fan base in hand yet. But I mean, yes, obviously I would love to do theatrical runs for things, even if it's just a weekend or, whatever, a limited thing, just because again, it's so much more fun to see it in the theater. It's more fun for the people watching it, more fun for us, more fun for everybody.
Right.
So,
yeah. No, it would be nice to see more things, in theatrical releases, because theaters are unfortunately kind of dying.
They are. It's crazy.
I love going to the theater myself, But
same, all of us. That's why we make movies, right? We love that experience. And it's interesting too. You wonder if, because of the fact that like, yeah, theaters aren't doing well with mainstream releases and stuff, you think there'd be a little bit more flexibility for like gaps, for like indie films to fill those gaps and whatever, but there doesn't really exist an infrastructure right now for that. You know what I mean? I don't know if we'll see that change or whatever, but there's only a few theater chains that, like a few independent, things where you can like even possibly stream your indie film. I know AMC has a program, but you have to do a lot of, they ask for a lot of stuff from you in order to be considered for that. So yeah, it's interesting, but yeah, I agree. We all, we'd much rather see it in the theater, right? It's like everybody wants to see it in the theater.
Yep, exactly. I can remember the first movie that I saw in the theater.
What was it?
It was Days of Thunder.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was Days of Thunder. That was the first one because my parents, they wanted to see, I don't remember what was out at the same time, but they wanted to see that, and I wanted to see Days of Thunder. So it was actually the first movie I saw in a theater and by myself.
By yourself? Ooh,
yeah,
very good.
I think I was like 12 years old or something.
I love it. You were like, you go see your crappy movie over here. I'll be in this one.
I'll be in Days of Thunder, watching Tom Cruise do NASCAR.
And was it everything you hoped it would be?
It was not.
Well, that's part of the movie going experience too. They can't all hit it out the park,
Yeah, no, I think I was just too young. I liked race cars. I like stuff like I'm still a NASCAR fan, but back then I didn't know enough about it, but it looked cool. It had fast cars.
Right.
Yeah. Tom Cruise was in Legend. He was in, Top Gun. He was in all kinds of great movies. So yeah, that was fun. And then of course, after that, I was like, I went to the theater every weekend to go see like Ninja Turtles and Batman.
Yes. You were like, I'm hooked. I love it.
Yeah, I'm hooked now. So, what was your first movie in the theater?
I honestly do not remember, but what I do remember in general is that growing up, my dad only liked like certain kind of movies. So I watched a lot of movies as a young, like very young girl that like probably were not appropriate. Like I remember seeing, oh my God, what is it called? It's like the Demi Moore, Michael Douglas movie in the theater. The one where she like seduces him. Oh my God. Can't think of the name. Anyway, and like a lot of my dad loved like action movies and like biopics, so it was a lot of like that growing up. And then also this is the same person who. So when I was like maybe 10 and my sister was like 13, we watched Silence of the Lambs together. And then he waited until my sister was asleep, and he jumped out from under her bed and scared her, which is so messed up. I say laughing. So she was afraid of the dark until she's like 30s, and she's still afraid of the dark now. Oh my God, it's so funny. So yeah, that's the kind of those were my movie experiences. I have no idea what my very first theater one was, which is sad. I should try to figure that out. But yeah.
Do you remember your first horror movie? What got you hooked?
Yeah, Silence of the Lambs was my first horror movie. Yeah, that experience. Okay. Yes, yeah, exactly. And I love that movie to this day. It's one of my favorite freaking movies. It's so good. My dad also he was a psychiatrist, so he thought it was really funny after we watched that to like whisper in my sister's ear, like he's a psychiatrist like me, Good times. So yeah, I watched that. I watched The Exorcist. I watched Rosemary's Baby, and then like grew up on like kind of like the Screams and that kind of stuff. I think my favorite stuff is really dark, gritty, grounded stuff like your Silence of the Lambs and your Seven, like Black Phone. More recently, I love Black Phone, or I love like a kind of campy horror comedy like Ready or Not, or like some of the Screams and that kind of stuff. I like those are like my two favorite probably subgenres.
Okay, yeah, campy is, you can't beat campy. I love campy.
I like it because it knows what it is, right? It like it knows what it is, and it's like it's meeting your expectations for what it is, right? So
exactly, yeah, it's not taking itself too seriously. I mean, it's
so much stuff does these things.
Right, yeah, and with stuff like that too, like they can make 12 of them, and it doesn't matter. You're gonna watch all of them. Jason, Freddy, you're gonna watch them all because you know what it is. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I always ask this question too to my guests. How do you feel about remakes?
I'm generally anti, because I feel like we remake the best things and it's already great and it doesn't need another version of it. Like it just go watch the original. Like we already have it. It nailed it. You know what I mean? I like remakes if we're going to find like a hidden gem that didn't deliver or didn't execute properly, like something, but obviously the whole point of a remake is to capitalize on like popular IP. So
Sure.
I would never want to touch something personally as a filmmaker that was done amazingly. I don't want like you know what I mean? They don't need my spin on something perfect. Like I'd rather subvert something and flip it on its head, or find something again that was like, oh, this would be so cool if, right? Like those kinds of things. But so yeah, in general, I am not a remake person. I feel like that's also part of kind of what has caused a lot of stagnation creatively in Hollywood right now, because all we're doing is remakes and reboots and sequels and prequels and existing IP and another version of this and another version of that. And I think there's so many talented people with really unique creative stories to tell, and I'd like to see more of that and less of like the same old.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, no, that's a very good point. I enjoy remakes if they're done well,
Right.
because it
Big
kind of takes me back to the first time I watched the classic. You know, that it's like how you wish you could get that time. You wish you could get that
nostalgia factor. That
yeah, a remake kind of does that for me, but it does have to be well made. You know?
Yes.
If it's not a well made remake, then it's like,
leave it alone. Don't touch it.
Leave it alone. But the classic is still always there. That's the good thing.
Yeah, totally. And what's cool is that sometimes it can cause people to like rediscover the original thing and go back and find that. And so you have a whole generation kind of being exposed to something that didn't know it existed. And that's totally cool. I'm all for that. But a lot of times for me, like if I love something, the last thing I want to do is see another version of it. Like I just want to see the version I love. That's my snobby me talking.
Well, and some remakes too have gotten me to watch the classics that I had never seen.
So that's what I mean. Yeah, exactly. Because you're like, oh, I didn't know this was a thing. Like that's cool. Let me go check out the original. Right? It's totally. And that's
Texas
great.
Chainsaw, that got me to watch the original. There's tons of remakes that were like, wait, this is a remake. So go back, watch the original, and then you're blown away by the original. You're like, oh, okay, now I see why.
Yes, totally. Totally. I think if it comes from, I think intent is kind of everything, right? Intent is so important in this. Like if somebody loves something and they want to do an homage and a spin and whatever, and they're like the goal of it is it's coming from that place of love and respect and admiration versus like coming from a place of corporate greed of Hollywood, just like trying to milk something to death. I think that changes the way that you feel, obviously it changes the nature of the project and the way that you feel watching the project. Right. So I think if somebody's coming from a better place, like those tend to be better. But if it's just coming from like, hey, let's have a quick crash grab and redo this thing, it's like soulless and crappy and nobody likes that.
Right. So you said Silence of the Lambs is your first. That's your favorite?
Probably my favorite. Yeah. There's been a lot of recent ones. I mean, that I like. I love The Exorcist too. I love like all the classic old ones. Seven, I would say, is horror, and I love that too, even though the controversial people, want to call certain things thrillers and not horrors. But yeah, like I said, Black Phone is one. Yeah, it's horror, dude. There's a head in a box. Like it's horror. Yeah, Black Phone I think is one of my favorites of recent years. I thought it was so well done. It's like structurally perfect. I thought it was really good. Because I'm also like, as a writer, I'm also looking at I like do all the things, and so when I'm watching a movie, it's like all my various brains analyzing all the things, right? Like how good is the writing and the structure and the whatever, like how good is the acting, like how's the set design, how's the production value, how's the direct, like looking at all the things. So yeah, I also thought Talk to Me was really good recently. I thought that was really fun. Ready or Not, like I said, I like Ready or Not a lot. That was really funny, especially for like it was like a really nice contained thriller, or contained horror. Yeah, I like Evil Dead is great. But obviously like I love, I'm a huge Edgar Wright fan, so I love Shaun of the Dead. Yeah, there's a lot. I feel like there's like the different like categories, right? So it's like this scratches this itch and this scratches this itch, and it's all different. That's what's so great about horror. It's like there's so many subgenres.
There is, and that's why I like to ask that question, because it's really hard to pick just one favorite. It's like, if you're asking what my favorite slasher is, well, that's
exactly right. You need to narrow it down, right? Give me the subgenre, because you can't be like my favorite ever, like in all of it.
Yeah, I think it's too hard to pick just one favorite horror movie ever.
Totally.
I mean, you can pick one that's probably the perfect horror movie, which obviously, The Exorcist is one of those. But even then, it's still hard to say which one horror movie is the perfect horror movie.
Totally. Totally.
And I like the remake of The Exorcist too.
That is a remake that I think is decent. Agreed.
Yeah, it was good. I didn't think it was a remake though. Really, I mean, it was a remake, but I mean, they kind of completely changed it, really. So
And that's exactly right. They did like a different spin on it. So I feel like that's
Yeah.
needed, right? Because again,
Mhm.
Exorcist is such a perfect movie. It's like what are you gonna if you're just gonna make it
Right.
again? It's like it already exists so good. So you have to you have to like do something different, subvert something, put a spin on something, take it in a different direction.
Right.
You know. Sorry, my dogs are playing with their balls, bouncing around the house, chasing things.
That's what dogs do.
That's what they do.
My dog doesn't because he does not like the hardwood floors.
Oh yeah, my dogs slip and slide all over them, but they don't let them slow them down. They're just more likely to run into you and other things, but they are not deterred.
Oh, mine is deterred big time. He hates it. He won't.
Yeah,
He'll
fair.
go outside, and that's about it.
That's hilarious. He's like, these hardwood floors suck. Put some rugs down, man.
Yeah, he does. And he walks all super slow, like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And it's like the poor dog is constantly having some sort of anxiety attack. I'm like,
that's
dude, it's fine.
hilarious.
It's just, yeah.
You're like, dude, it's just a floor. It's okay.
I know, it's just a floor, dude. You're gonna be fine. So I said I was gonna come back to this. Dexter.
Yes.
You had a little cameo in that. What was that like? Michael C. Hall, everybody, did you get to meet him? Did you get to
Yeah, my scenes were with him. Yeah, absolutely. I
Okay.
played opposite him. So yeah, that was awesome. That was I believe my second ever TV credit. And it was the first time I booked something that I watched. Like I was literally watching Dexter. I was a huge Dexter fan, and then it was very cool to be on it. And opposite him, and I'm like, it was like, trying to be really cool and calm on set and like be like, oh my God, I'm like talking to Dexter. That's Dexter opposite me, and like I'm in Dexter's apartment. It was really like surreal and cool. It was so nice. The cast and crew was so nice. The director especially was really, really kind and really great to work with. It was a weird situation where I got booked for it was a 3-day co-star, meaning like 3 days of filming. So there's one day where I'm at a soccer game and me and Michael C. Hall meet because he's coaching. I believe he's coaching the kids soccer team or whatever. It's been a while since and so we meet and we flirt and we have a fling. And then the way that they ended up doing it in the episode is they cut a bunch of stuff and they made a montage to open the thing. So all of my scenes with him with like dialogue and stuff got cut. So, but the director was so nice and he actually like let me know ahead of time. He was like, I just want to give you a heads up because this happens all the time to actors, right? It's like, it's just part of the nature of it. You get cut out, things get changed, all kinds of stuff. But it was really nice of him to give me a heads up and be like, your performance was great. It's nothing against you. We just like needed more time. They had to cut, the episode for time. So either way, it's still really cool. Still really fun to be on. And yeah, like again, it's like the first show that I was on that I watched and I was like, oh, this is cool. It just felt really cool. So yeah, very good time.
Yeah, well, because that was in like season 8. So yeah, I can imagine you were probably a fan of it for a while. And like I said, I didn't realize until I read your IMDb. I'm like, oh, she was in that. So rewatch value right there. Like I'll always go back and watch Dexter anyway because I just love the show. And it's been off the air for a while. Well, they did the new
they brought it back for the
I loved it. I
no
thought
no one really did, unfortunately. It's kind of a bummer. It sucks when they bring you love the reboot?
I did.
Oh, interesting. You're like the first person I've talked to that loved it. Interesting. Okay.
I loved it.
That's great. Then you're satisfied.
It's just, it's Dexter. It's one of those things where even if I thought it was a terrible show, I probably still would have enjoyed it because it's Dexter. Like the guy shouldn't have gotten away with what he got away with for so long, but 100%. He did every single episode. You're like, oh, he's going to get caught in this one. And then he doesn't, or if he does, he kills him. So
it was, so actually I'm like a big bookworm. So I had read the books before the series was made. And it's just so interesting, the interpretation of him. Cause in the books, he's actually like incredibly like, charming and easygoing and and so they made him like very different in the show, right? He's a little socially awkward, he's whatever. So it was really cool to see the interpretation of that, like how different it was from the books, but like how much it worked. And Dexter was really cool. I think it was like, especially for the time, you know what I mean? Like it was very like boundary pushing and all that kind of stuff. It was a very cool show.
Yeah, I loved it. And Michael C. Hall too. I like him.
He's great.
He was good in Cold in July, I think. I don't know if you've seen that movie, but he was in that with Don Johnson. Like that's a great movie. Kind of a comedy thriller, not really horror, comedy thriller, but that was a good performance by him too.
Yeah, he's also in 6 Feet Under too, right? He's great.
He was in 6 Feet Under prior to Dexter.
Correct. Yeah. He's like a very quiet, cerebral actor. I feel like there's two kinds of actors. Well, I mean, whatever. Like, there's like the like very like outgoing, whatever gregarious ones, and then there's the ones that are like very in their head. Like
Mhm.
whatever. He's definitely like type B. He's very innocent. But he's very, very nice. But yeah, it's definitely like a more quiet, reserved type. Yeah.
Yeah. Horror series now, or do you watch many horror series?
So I liked The Fall of the House of Usher, my
Okay.
Finnegan series. I think we need more like I liked I think it's just a mini series though. What is it with it's kind of Dextery. They like accidentally kill someone and it's a couple. It was a Netflix thing. I can't even think of what it is. But yeah, Brian Murphy's not my super jam. So American Horror Story is not my absolute favorite. I think they kind of have milked it to death, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Like in the beginning, I think it was kind of cool, and there was definitely the visuals are very cool and whatever. But it's kind of run its course for me, so I'm not super into that. What else? What else? What are you watching series wise? What am I forgetting?
I'm actually into episode 3 of Fall of the House of Usher because I
Yeah,
love Mike Flanagan.
Mike Flanagan's great. Are you kidding?
Yeah,
So
Midnight Mass was awesome.
I actually
House
auditioned for his, what did they end up calling it? Insomnia, what the movie ended up being called, the little boy who like his dreams come true and there's like a monster in his dreams.
Oh yeah. The little boy that
I think it was either Somnia and they changed the name of it or it became Somnia. But anyway,
Yeah.
I actually auditioned for that, but I didn't book it. But I was like, Mike Flanagan, that'd be amazing.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm on.
Yeah.
I don't really have a lot of time to sit down and watch TV shows anymore. Like that's what I used to do, is just kind of binge crap. And now, unfortunately, I just
don't have the time.
Yeah, Fall of the House of Usher is I'm on like episode 3.
Yes.
And then I actually wanted to start watching, but I haven't yet. It's an older show now too, but the Exorcist TV show.
Oh, I didn't really read an Exorcist TV show. What
They did? I didn't either, and I stumbled across it. It's on Tubi right now, of all places.
Okay, interesting.
It's on a couple others, I think, but I mean, Tubi, why not? It's free,
Yeah, free. Watch it. Yeah, I didn't realize that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I didn't either, and somebody had mentioned it in one of the Facebook groups, and I'm like, wait, what? So I watched. I'm gonna start watching that,
Nice.
and then I want to watch From. I've heard From is very good.
Nice. I haven't watched that either. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
More for the list. Dun dun dun
Yeah.
dun. I know, the thing is, there's just so much content out there. It's like so much pop up. It's crazy. And I'm always reading scripts. I'm always watching things, and it's like there's just so much. There's so much.
Yeah. Do you enjoy cryptid movies like Bigfoot, things like that?
Sure, it's probably not my like favorite subgenre or whatever, but like if the story's good and the acting is good, then I'm in for anything. But it's probably not my favorite. Like I wouldn't seek it out unless somebody's like, "Oh, this one's really good. You got to go check it out." Yeah.
Okay, I asked that because typically on my Friday episodes, I do a little thing called Folklore Friday. So
nice.
Previously I did La Llorona.
Okay, but that's cool though. So not just big. You mean like any kind of like cultural?
Pretty much, yeah. Any kind of cultural.
I'm totally in that. Absolutely. One of my friends was working on a like a Korean. I can't remember what the thing was anymore. But yeah, I think that stuff is so cool, especially if you go look at like the cultural lore of all the things, it can be very dope. So yeah, in general, that is for sure interesting to me. Sorry, I thought when you said Bigfoot, I thought we were talking more like. Yeah.
I worded it silly, but
yes, no. That's cool. Very cool. So what is your favorite one that you've like found out about? What's your favorite weird lore?
So I have always been super intrigued by skinwalkers.
Yes.
They're so creepy, and number one, there's not enough content out there about them.
Yeah. Fairly interesting.
There's a couple of movies.
Yeah.
And they just, I don't know. I think that they're probably one of the coolest folklore, tales out there. I'm kind of a sucker for old school tales and things like that. So I love it. Those old campfire stories.
100%.
I love that kind of stuff. So yeah.
I think it's very interesting because there's like a lot of psychology in those things, right? There's a lot like rooted in our deepest. It's very interesting because it's like they're some of the oldest. That's like the oldest storytelling is that verbal storytelling that's been passed down generation to generation or whatever. And so like there's so much like rich stuff in there to explore.
Yeah. I wish I could remember the name of it. There was a show maybe it was a movie. I don't anyway.
Yeah.
Like that's literally what it was. Is they didn't really show anything. The show was about these people sitting around telling.
Yes. Was this with Aya Cash, the girl from?
Yep.
Yes. That was really good. That was really well done. What the hell was that called?
I don't know now, and I shouldn't have even brought it up because now I feel like an idiot.
No. This is me every interview. They're like, I'm like, damn, the thing with the person, the whatever. And then as soon as we stop the podcast, I'm like, oh damn it, I remember exactly who. Like the other day, I couldn't think of Mike Flanagan's name. I was like, the guy from the House of Usher, and the this and the that. And I'm like, what the fuck is his name? And then I get off, and I was like, Mike Flanagan. Like it just came to me.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah, that movie was really good.
It was very good for what it was. I mean, it was awesome. Just sitting around.
I think it was
they were trying to see who could scare each other the most or something.
Yes.
That was
gonna bother me.
Good.
I think it was one of like the first. Was it a Shudder? One of the early Shudder originals, maybe or something.
Could have been.
Yeah, I feel like it was Scare Me. That's what it was called.
Scare Me.
Okay. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
easy enough. Yeah, it was fun. I liked it.
Okay. Yeah, me too. So real quick before we get going here, because I promise not to take up too much of your time, but
no worries.
I could talk to you all night because you're very fun to talk to. You're very interesting to talk to. So
thank you.
And this is another question that I ask everybody.
Yes.
So it's kind of the final question. And you have a lot more experience than I do and things like that. So you've been around, bigger budget productions, but if you were approached by, let's say Mike Flanagan or, like Paramount or something, and they said, okay, we're gonna give you $100 million.
Oh my God.
And we're gonna let you pick one A-list actor. Like we're gonna supply the rest of the cast. We're gonna pick all that, but you get to pick the main A-list actor. What movie are you making or remaking, and who's the actor?
Oh man, this is so hard. I literally have a wish list of like people from all tiers that whose work I admire so much. Right. I love Bryan Cranston. I would love to do something with Bryan Cranston. He's just so freaking good. I don't know what I'm doing, but there was this dope script that we optioned for a minute and we almost got things going, but we couldn't quite. I didn't write it. It was just a really cool concept. It was Alice in Wonderland. But it was like basically it was a gritty FBI. She's an FBI agent, and Wonderland is like the city, and it's like a gritty city, and all the characters are like various like criminals within this city. And I thought it was such a cool concept. And so so Alice is like the FBI agent tracking down like the killers in Wonderland. I love that idea. I think it was so dope. But yeah, I don't know anything. What movie would I don't even know. I'll find a script. I'll write a script. We'll do it. Anybody, bring it on. There's so many people I can't think. But yeah, I think Bryan Cranston is probably at the top of my list, among others, among so many people. But yes, I think so.
Okay.
That's so much pressure. So much pressure in the question.
I know that question gets everybody every time, and I love it. That's why I keep asking it. Because I know if somebody asks me, I do the same. Like I don't know, like you said with Black Phone. I love Ethan Hawke.
He's so good. There's so many people. Like I said, I literally have I'm very type A and I have a lot of lists. So I I literally have a list of like when I'm watching TV and I love an episode, whoever directed it, like I love the direction of it. I have a list of like directors who I love that I'm keeping tabs on. And it's so funny because within 3 years, every single person, and these are people who are like doing an episode of TV, right? Initially, like I see them direct an episode of this. I'm like, oh, that was such a dope episode. Who is this person? And I make my little list, put their name on it. Within 3 years, they've all gone on to do humongoid mega things. It's crazy. So clearly I have a good eye, but yeah. So I have the same thing with actors. I have like, you're like huge names that you love to work with, but also like your people who are just like your series regular, on a TV show that just always give good performances and whatever, just people who are cool and whose work I admire. And there's something about it that like gets to me. So I have like all my lists of like my director list and my actor list and my whatever. They're very long. So there's many people I would love to work with. But yeah, totally. I don't know. That's amazing. That'd be a great problem to have,
It would be for sure. Yeah.
$100 million and anyone you want to work with. Oh man. Oh
yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Bryan Cranston. Yep. Good choice. Solid choice. See, I love Bryan Cranston. Breaking Bad was so good.
I'm just obsessed. It's just such a good show. And he is so good and like beautiful and nuanced. Also, like, because I have actor friends who've been on the show, he's like such a joyous person to have on set. He is like not. He's one of those people who can just be cool and like funny and joke around 1 second and then he's in it when he's in it like right away. Like he's just such a cool. I think that's such a fun person to have around like on set. My one of my classmates actually played his son in the Showtime show, Your Honor.
Your Honor.
Yes, yeah, Hunter Duhan, the kid who plays, so the kid who plays his son Hunter. He's actually now in Wednesday, but he
Okay,
is
yeah.
my classmate. He's dope. He's so good. And so they became really good friends, and Bryan Cranston officiated his wedding. And I was like,
Wow.
that is freaking cool, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, crap.
Yeah. But everyone who works with him like loves him and says he's just like a joyous person. So
I can see that.
that goes far too. Because I think I know from, the stuff that I've done and sets I've been on and that were mine or weren't mine or whatever, it's like the atmosphere on set is so important. It is such a fragile, delicate thing. And if people are cool, it makes it so amazing. And if people are not cool, it makes it miserable, right? And it's like definitely kind of a top-down situation. Like if the biggest name involved is cool, everybody top to bottom tends to be cool. If the biggest name involved is a dick, everybody top to bottom tends to be a dick. So I think it's really important. I think I know for me, I will cast someone who's like a little bit less talented or a little bit less right for the role but they're nice and they're cool over somebody who's amazing and a jerk. Like 10 times out of 10, I'm casting a nicer person. You know what I mean? It's just like it's not worth it.
Right. I completely agree. I understand. So
yeah.
All right. Well, Victoria, what aside from Cold Blows the Wind?
Yes.
Is there anything else on the agenda for you? Anything else you're working on?
Yeah, I mean, always have scripts in the can that we're figuring out. So the investor that worked with us on Cold Blows the Wind is down to do it again as soon as we make our money back. So we have a couple of things in the pipeline. So it'll just depend how things go and what lends itself best. Always working on things. The next thing I'm going to do just to be able to do something quickly because features tend to take a while to, get going and get the money and all that stuff. So my friend who did the stunts on Cold Blows the Wind, her name is Felicia. She's a boxer. She's amazing. She's like this tiny, like 5 foot, 100-pound chick, and she's so cool. We are just going to do a fun little comedy action short where we just get to beat each other up and whatever. So that's what we're doing pretty soon in probably a couple months in March. And then as far as the next feature, we will see which one, rises to the top of the pile and, and go from there. But yeah, if you can't get enough of me, you can go rent Cold Blows the Wind. You can go watch Lexi on Tubi or Amazon or all the places. My web series is also out on Tubi and Amazon. It's called Disgraced. It's not horror, it's just comedy. But if you feel like laughing, if you need a little palate cleanse in between all the dark,
absolutely
stuff, get your comedy on.
Awesome. Okay, and then the socials. Plug yourself away. Where can people find you?
So I'm just at Victoria Vertuga, my whole name on all the platforms. So at Victoria Vertuga, come find me. And then again, our website or our movie is available right now on the website, coldblowsthewindfilm.com. You can rent it and purchase it. You can buy a DVD, you can buy a signed DVD, you can buy a t-shirt, all those things. And Lexi and Disgraced are available Tubi, Amazon, all the typical, streaming platforms for your viewing pleasure.
Awesome. Well, Victoria, it has been so nice having you on. You're such a nice person.
Thank you. So much fun talking to you.
Yeah, I look forward to, picking your brain on some ideas, and, I hope we get a chance to talk again soon.
Absolutely. Anytime, man. We're in this together, man. So, share information and help each other get further and grow, right?
Absolutely. All right, Victoria. Well, thanks again, and we will talk soon.
Perfect. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.